In my last video, I talked about 1980s cyberpunk, which inspired me as a privileged white kid to dive confidently headfirst into computers. The science fiction setting got me speculating about the future and made me want to take an active role in shaping the future. 1980s cyberpunk had technology so sophisticated it was magical, and I wanted to make magic. While much of the 1980s cyberpunk was prophetic in regards to the rise of cyberspace and megacorporations ruling our lives, much of it much of its setting was heavily influenced by 1980s materialism, ableism, and sexism, which hasn't aged well and makes the recent Cyberpunk 2077 video game problematic and retro-futuristic in many respects. It lacks the relevance to our current society that would make it a powerful and inspiring futuristic setting. Futurism, which is the practice of making predictions about the future of technological developments and how current innovations will impact society, is an important and often neglected component of computer science. I think it's an important exercise to speculate on where technology may take the human race and the issues we might encounter there. In this video, I'm going to talk about the fantastic card game Netrunner and the futuristic cyberpunk setting called Android that is inspiring, complex, and relevant to our modern times. It was recently covered in an excellent article in Wired magazine, which took a deep dive into how this setting differs in important positive ways from 1980s cyberpunk. Android Netrunner is an asymmetrical living card game where one player takes the role of a corporation, setting up servers that forward their agendas, and the other player is a hacker or a runner trying to access those servers to steal those agendas, with the first player to score 7 agenda points winning the match. It's described as asymmetrical because each player is playing by a very different set of rules, and to be fairly warned, having 2 sets of rules gives this game a steeper learning curve than most other games, but it's also very rewarding.
So as the corporation, you are going to spend time in the form of clicks and resources in the form of credits to install servers. You install these face down and you will set them up with programs to protect them from the runner trying to access your servers. When a runner tries to access a server, you can spend some credits and res a ice. And then the runner will have to have in this case, it's a code gate, and the runner will have to have a program that can deal with a code gate and have a strength of greater than 5. And then they also have to have the money to get through all these different routines that are going to end the runner's run or do damage to the runner. Additionally, the servers that you install, you can install resources like maybe a systems operator that'll make it even harder for the runner to access the server. You'll install agendas. In this case, it's a successful beta test worth 2 points of the 7 you need. And you're going to want to advance this agenda to try and get it to your scoring area. It might be a resource like an advertising campaign that will gain you money turn after turn after turn. Or it might be a ambush, which will do damage to the runner. Additionally, you start out with 3 servers. You have your HQ, which is your hand of cards. This is your headquarters, and you'll have cards like IPO or hedge fund to get you more credits. You'll have cards like biotic labor, which will create automation and gain you additional time. Additionally, you have your research and development deck, which is which is your deck where the cards are going to come out of, and you've got your archives, which are the cards you discard because they've been trashed or you're done using them. In this case, we've got 3 servers that are heavily protected. This one open server is the trap. And over here, we have research and development isn't protected, so the runner could easily run on this, and in this case, they would score an agenda, the accelerated beta test, and get 2 points from accessing this server. So as the corporation, you are setting up puzzles and defenses that the hacker is now going to try and solve and try and guess where you've hidden things, and also has to guess how you've defended your servers and how to get past the protections, the intrusion countermeasure electronics, or ICE, that you have installed to protect your servers. As the runner, you are going to spend time in the form of clicks. You get one more click than the corporation does each turn. You're going to spend resources in the form of credits to build out your rig. Your rig consists of resources like jobs, human beings that are your connections, or maybe locations like a pawn shop that give you special benefits. You're also going to build out hardware, like maybe have build up a console, or add chips to that console, or maybe modify your hardware in some way. And finally, you're going to have programs. These programs can generate money for you. They can build up special abilities that you can use later. And finally, an important part of the programs is you're going to have icebreakers, and these are going to help you get past the ice that your opponents sets up in their servers. You also have your hand of cards with things like Shore Gamble, which will get you money, Diesel, which is the version of Red Bull in the future. So there's a hacker stereotype for you. Careful planning. Maybe you're going to run a sabotage event. So you also have events that you're going to play that are going to help you out. I saw a user on Reddit once describe Netrunner as a game of locks and keys, and that's perfect description of the game. The corporation is setting up the locks, and the runner has to set up a wide variety of keys. The corporation sets the strategy, sets up the puzzle, and the runner has to be prepared for anything and be able to get past anything that the corporation sets up. As a game, I love how the mechanics make the players aware of cybersecurity and information technology through this interplay between the hacker and the corporation.
So that's a high-level overview of the game mechanics, but Android Netrunner's theme is what really makes the mechanics work for myself and other players. Publisher Fantasy Flight has a cyberpunk setting called Android, which is rich in flavor, sophisticated in content, and engages with issues relevant to our modern world. Android's action is centered around the Beanstalk, Earth's first space elevator, which provides affordable off-world transportation and has made colonization of the Moon and Mars possible. The Beanstalk is owned by the Wayland Corporation, giving this megacorporation a monopoly over access to the stars. Like today's megacorporations, Wayland provides huge benefits to society through energy production, space exploration, and other innovations, while simultaneously interfering with the sovereignty of nations and negatively impacting the environment. Other corporations, like Haas Bioroid, is manufacturing robotic workers, like futuristic Amazon Alexas, OK Googles, or Apple Siris, but with human-like bodies able to work sophisticated manual labor. These robot workers are automating citizens out of work everywhere, invoking an often violent backlash against them. Taking a different approach to automation, the Genteki Corporation focuses on genetic engineering to manufacture clones genetically engineered towards subservience. They also engineer crops to feed the world and pets like the miniature giraffe for people wealthy enough to afford them. These projects raise all kinds of ethical dilemmas, as you might imagine. Another megacorporation is MBN, a global media power which dominates the online world through news media that shape our views, contracts with communities that allow total surveillance of them, essentially establishing panopticons in cities all over the world. They even sell interactive toys that report on every child's interests and how best to market to them. What I appreciate about all these corporations is that none of them are presented so much as having nefarious motives, but are all too big to fail profit-driven entities filled with complex human beings at all levels throughout the organization. Contrasted with the corporations, we have the runners. Corporations have money and resources. Runners have time and an ingenuity as individuals. Just as the corporations are complex, multifaceted entities, the runners are also a diverse and eclectic group. We have the classic punks of cyberpunk, but instead of rebellion for its own sake, these are often people who feel disenfranchised by the system, fighting back against automation by taking a sledgehammer to the bioroids, or the mundanity of a day job working the phone lines as tech support. Just as the punks have deeper motives, there's other hackers with complex motivations. There's Lisa Talking Thunder, an Ecuadorian native and politician fighting against the exploitation of her country, where the Beanstalk is located. Sunny LeBeau is a security specialist and a working mom who's also a total badass. Nat is a child prodigy. Other runners are new classes of underprivileged individuals that have come into existence through new technologies. Runners can be clones, bioroids, and artificial intelligences, struggling to survive in a world where the term human rights doesn't apply to them. The game takes place in Ecuador, but the action takes place all over the globe. While the cyberpunk setting takes us to Asia, the Moon, and Mars, it notably also takes us to India, which, of course, India is cyberpunk. The country is more cyberpunk than anything the West currently has to offer, and I love how the locations and software reflect Indian aesthetics and culture. Finally, I really appreciate Android Netrunner's style. The characters who enhance themselves through technology are less cyborg and more transhuman. And by this, I mean they are less about leaving humanity behind and more about enhancing their humanity through technological improvements. These are still cyborgs, but with a modern aesthetic that's clean and visually pleasing. It's like an Apple computer's approach to cybernetic design. After telling you all about this wonderful, technically savvy, multicultural, and socially relevant game, I have to inform you that Fantasy Flight no longer publishes it. However, there is gintechie.net, which is a website where you can play Netrunner online and build decks with every card ever published, including cards printed by Project Nisei, a backronym that stands for Netrunner International Support and Expansion Initiative, an organization that has produced new content for Netrunner and plans to continue producing new content. The cards they have come out with so far capture the spirit of Netrunner and introduce new themes like MMORPGs, augmented reality, and whistleblowers, among others. The cards are high quality, and Nisei is doing a great job of perpetuating the diversity and multiculturalism in the game with new runners and cultural references. They're also keeping the tournament scene going by rotating cards in and out of play, like Magic the Gathering does, to keep deck construction fresh and the meta changing. I had the opportunity to attend one of these tournaments organized by fans of the game, and it was a great experience. Even though I lost all my matches, they gave me a player mat and everyone was friendly. One player even told me, "We have to be friendly. When you play a game this complicated, everyone makes rules mistakes, so we are all very understanding." If you're too intimidated by the Netrunner card game but interested in the Android universe, Fantasy Flight has several board games that take place in this world, a role-playing game, and a wonderful art-filled sourcebook that deeply immerses the reader in the world. They also have several well-written novels and novellas exploring the lives and adventures of characters in this universe. So that's the card game Netrunner, which is about corporations setting up and protecting servers from hackers seeking to access those servers filled with fantastical information technology and a diverse cast of IT professionals. It's set in the Android universe, which is a multifaceted, futuristic world still grappling with justice, equity, environmentalism, human rights, and the new problems technology produces, even as it solves old ones. Best summarized in the book The Worlds of Androids tagline, "The world changed, people did not." Thank you for watching.